Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima on the topic of Halo Infinite's campaign. I think we all know what I'm going to say at this point, but I might as well say it anyway. It's not very good. I mean, are you really surprised? But first we have to talk about the fun stuff, which for me is technical problems, because oh man, I don't know what it is with every single time I try and play Halo Infinite. Some part of it just hasn't worked. And to be fair, at this point, the game has actually been working okay for me outside of the initial problem that I had. A friend of mine is also playing through this game's campaign at the moment, and they can't get through one mission without the game hard crashing. Me, whenever I just tried to open the game via Xbox Game Pass, it would just pop up this weird Microsoft Store thing, and I'd have to go and close it, and then I couldn't figure out what the problem with it was, but then when I restarted my computer the next morning, it just worked. So yeah, day the game came out, I couldn't even bloody play it. But there you go. So, Halo Infinite's campaign is... It doesn't feel like Halo. That's the biggest problem with it. The thing about Halo, and the thing I love about Halo, is that it always felt very focused and predetermined in what it wanted to give you. The encounters that it wanted you to have. And it very specifically set up enemies, weapons, ammunition, friendlies, vehicles. And it let you go about it in a very predetermined way, but in a way that was also determined to make the game feel awesome. Whether it be getting through a tricky fight with nothing but a very low amount of ammo and a lot of skill, or hopping into a vehicle and going and blowing the crap out of everything in your way, or anything in between. It all felt very deliberate, very much in a way to make you get a certain kind of experience out of every level. Halo Infinite seems to want to throw this out the window, no matter what way you think about it. So, whether it be the FOBs, which you can approach from almost any direction, and just has a random scattering of enemies, whether it be the big bases with a bunch of objectives planted around it that you have to do, that you can approach from any direction and seemingly have some random enemies placed around them. Or whether it be the big battles that you have with these, like, massively overpowered, tanky enemies that you have to deal with, that you can approach from any direction and seemingly have just a random smattering of enemies planted around them. Or whether it be the campaign missions that have a lot of visual set pieces, but otherwise just feel like a bunch of random enemies thrown into a bunch of random rooms on a very linear track that just feels like it wasn't very deliberately designed in order to encourage some part of the Halo sandbox or encourage some kind of smart tactical play. It feels like they have to go for an everything will work in every situation approach with Infinite. And to be fair, that's kind of what this sort of open world design really does, which is, of course, a thing that other series have dealt with by not trying to take things too seriously and not trying to reinvent a franchise that has been critically acclaimed for the way that it handles its combat. So the way that you'll end up approaching any mission with Halo Infinite is picking up almost any weapon that comes along, with some of them being more powerful, and just going and doing the objectives in whatever way is most convenient or quickest to do. You never really have to think too hard about it. You never have to really be like, okay, I'm gonna take this, I need to go find this sniper. I need to use the sniper to take out the front guard. I need to save it for the strong hunter that's coming up. I need to do XYZ in order to be most effective in this combat situation, when really just getting in there in the thick of it and shooting everything in the face with whatever you got will generally just work. And one of the things about Halo is picking up weapons, using all of their ammo, and then going and picking up other weapons. Just trying to find clever ways to balance your usage of weapons so that you could make the most out of everything that you had available to you. But this game does things like introduce ammo crates, and these ammo crates let you refill the ammo of pretty much every weapon that you've got. Like, it's split between kinetic and energy, and sometimes there'll be hard light, which is like the sentinel weapons that you rarely see, at least at the point of the game that I've been up to. I've been playing this for about 5 hours. And the thing about it is just that it just takes away some of that tension of not being able to find ammo, because you're always going to be able to find a weapon that's got the ammo in question that you need. You're always going to be able to find weapons lying on the ground that you can get to those ammo crates with in order to get that ammo. So it reduces a bunch of the tension that Halo was well known for, and instead replaces it with Far Cry, but worse, because all of the things that I've done so far have been incredibly repetitive, quite boring, and don't really do anything to encourage the Halo sandbox. You very rarely get the opportunity to use vehicles because half the time they're going to force you to get out of them and hop in and do stuff on foot anyway. You never feel like you're going to be able to use snipers because all the areas feel really enclosed, all the enemies can shoot really far. Hell, shotguns in this game aren't very effective at all, because a lot of enemies are actually way tankier than they used to be. Like, I'm playing this on Heroic, and they say that Heroic is the difficulty for people who are veterans at Halo. And when you play Heroic, you expect a very specific sort of enemy levels of resistance and what have you. And I'm not even talking about like the big tanky dudes that get their own health bars. I'm talking about just your regular on-the-ground dudes needing way more bullets than feels necessary, even on Heroic, to take down efficiently. And it makes the entire combat feel like just that bit more of a slog. But honestly, I've gone a little bit off topic here. But yeah, all the things that the game makes you do, whether it be like the facilities with the multiple objectives, rescuing civilian squads, going into just like an FOB and killing all the enemies and taking it back. None of these feel clever. None of these encourage use of the Halo sandbox. In fact, a lot of them can tend to get rid of the problem. And there's a couple of like little gadgets they've introduced, whether it be the grappling hook, the drop wall, the motion sensor thing you can throw out. And all of them don't feel like Halo. They feel like they're more crutches, trying to make up for the fact that a bunch of the old tactics don't work. And the thing about Halo is that the old tactics are always supposed to work. It's your skill that helps actually make them work. And so, as a result of all of that, all of this open world gameplay, just, it feels like just a blatant copy of a better game trying to do it, like Far Cry. Because at least with Far Cry, they'd kind of given up on the idea of trying to be like something a little deeper, something a little bit strategically interesting. And were more just make everything blow up. Make it a more in-depth power fantasy than it is a more strategic game. And Halo Infinite doesn't really do that. Sometimes you'll get power weapons in random places. Sometimes you'll get enemies in specific ways, but none of it really comes together. And when it, on the really rare occasion where it does, where you've come into this facility perfectly, you've taken out a certain part of it, you've managed to rescue 6 Marines, and you're taking them to the second half of the facility and just wiping shit out, it doesn't feel like it was purposely designed to happen that way. It just feels like it happens on accident. And even then, sometimes it doesn't help with the way how some of these weapons can feel unbalanced. Like, the MK50 sidekick, you're probably always going to be wanting to use that because it's just so accurate and therefore so good at taking off heads that it helps you get around some of the old-fashioned problems that you have with trying to hit enemies in the head in the first place, because a lot of these guns aren't as effective as they used to be. And, well, some of them anyway. A lot of the Covenant guns actually got replaced, and a lot of them, they don't so much suck, but they're not satisfying to use, which kind of ends up being the problem. And then, when you get into the campaign missions, which are supposed to be like the big opportunities to bring back the Halo sandbox, it often ends up just kind of dropping the ball. They've realized that the idea of the Halo sandbox has kind of been broken in half by the idea that they want this open world approach where you can take it on from any angle, instead of being funneled into a very specific combat situation and needing to make the best of it with the little resources you have. So a lot of the missions end up suffering from a really noticeable linearity and space and just general execution problem, which doesn't make them flow anywhere near as smoothly as an old Halo game. As much as I didn't really enjoy the campaign for Halo 5 and thought it was a bit boring, it does a lot better job at feeling like Halo than this does. This just feels like some weird open world generic shooter with a Halo skin on top. And if I'm being honest with you, I absolutely hate it. I thought there might have been some more creative twists on the formula. I thought there might have been some really creative ways to go about things, like some locations where you could, like just ways to fiddle around with certain parts of the game, but it generally just feels like they thought Far Cry was a good idea. Let's do Far Cry with space guns, and that's what this has basically turned into. Not to mention, everything's got really annoying collectibles spread around everywhere, and you need to be hitting the Z key every 15 seconds, and it turns into this awful detective vision that doesn't stay on the screen permanently, so it makes it a bit of a pain in the ass to keep looking, and there's really no reason not to let me just turn it on all the time, because you can use it as much as you want, so there's no reason not to. But no, they want you to be pressing that every 10 seconds. They want you to be missing the collectibles. And most of the collectibles are just boring open world crap. You've got voice logs, which are the majority of them. You've got Spartan cores, which let you upgrade your Spartan, but it's usually stuff like, your shield is 15% better. Great, thanks. That doesn't change the game up in any meaningful way. And you've got multiplayer collectibles as well. There's stuff in here that'll give you stuff for the multiplayer. Never playing that again, so I don't know why I care. And you can also do objectives out in the open world in order to unlock things like extra weapons and extra vehicles that you can get at FOBs, but for some reason, I was just never able to get anything beyond the standard one. I don't know if I missed an unlockable prompt somewhere, where it's like, hey, you need to go spend the valor that you picked up in order to unlock these weapons, or these vehicles, or these marines, or what have you. But every time I went to an FOB after I unlocked something, I could only ever get a mongoose and a pistol and an assault rifle. I couldn't get the battle rifle, I couldn't get any of the special Covenant weapons that you could find, although they're technically the Banished now, aren't they? I could never get the Marines to come down, so I could never go and actually assault a place with them. Although the AI for the Marines isn't particularly smart. Generally, if a AI would try and stick them, they'll just stand there and take it. They're a little bit, they are a little bit sturdy, and if you do, like, go rushing into a place with them right behind you, they will take some shots for you, but they aren't massively effective unless you've got a higher number of them, at which point the battle is basically won anyway, so they're not really that enjoyable to play around with. And of course, since it's an open world game and you have no way to order them around, you can't hop in the back seat and let them drive you around anymore, which I get. I really do. I know how hard it is to make AI for this kind of situation, and considering the amount of absolutely ridiculous clips that we have of Warthog drivers suddenly deciding they're giving up on life and just driving over a cliff, I can kind of understand why, but at the same time, I would always laugh at those sorts of things, so I don't know why they took them out. It immensely disappoints me. Also, it's Halo, so, well, it's Halo Infinite, so there's a bunch of things missing. Like, there's no co-op campaign, there's no mission select. I don't know why you'd want to replay these missions outside of the autistic tendency to completely 100% finish a game, but they're there if you, well, they're not there actually, that's the problem. And it just piles on top of everything else that was wrong with the game as well, like how the multiplayer is screwed up in 20 different ways, how there's no Forge and there won't be for 6 months, how the game just seems to have some really bad technical problems for a lot of people. What the hell happened? Seriously, what the hell happened? Also, one of the things I really hated about Halo 4 and Halo 5's story is that it relies on an absolute ton of lore and previous events to let you know, like, hey, this is what happened in between these, and it's like 400 pages of books, a bunch of Forerunner lore that you're not going to understand, and these new characters coming in that can suddenly do a lot more for no reason unless you've read the books, in which case it's supposed to make at least some sort of sense. Guess what Halo Infinite does? It does a lot of these things and they don't make any bloody sense, at least if you haven't gone and actually read the previous stuff like me. Also, I was really disappointed to find this out personally. I know this is a really minor complaint, but it kind of summarizes my entire problem with the way this franchise is being handled. They killed the rookie! They killed him off in one of the books, and I didn't even know. Like, I know this is like one of the weird things to complain about, right? And my friend, who was also the friend who's having to get crashed on him every single mission, said to me, it's because they don't want to actually have to make up a character for him. But you could have just left him in the background. Have him be off doing something else during the course of Halo Infinite. Do something instead of just, like, killing him off for seemingly no reason. As far as I understand it, everybody else bloody survived from the ODST squad, but... yeah, but here's my biggest problem with the story as presented. Cortana 2.0, also known as the Weapon, who is the AI, and they're basically just trying to take after Cortana from Halo 1. But the way the dialogue is written makes her come off like a bloody 5-year-old. And I don't like it. I don't like the way her character works. I don't like the lines that she writes. I find her obnoxious in a really strange way. And I can't tell you exactly why, but it's just the way that her AI is done, that her voice lines are done, that just makes me go, I don't really want to listen to her anymore. And of course, I got about maybe halfway through the campaign. I don't know specifically. I've gone like a few story missions in, and when they brought in this new Harbinger character, who apparently has the ability to destroy the universe with this new threat that's hidden inside the ring, all I could think was, yeah, I'm done. They're pulling this crap again. Someone comes out of nowhere, claims to be immensely powerful, claims to be related to the Forerunners, and yeah, I just find myself thinking, not this shit again. Especially after Halo 4 did it. I think Halo 5 did it, but I'd be lying if I said I could remember much about Halo 5 at all, except that it was a better Halo game than Halo Infinite was. But, yeah. It looks good. Like, can't question that. It does genuinely look good. The effects are great. The open world is nice to look at. But when I'm not enjoying the game, I'm not enjoying the game. I played 5 hours of this, hoping that it would eventually get better, but halfway through the story, a bunch of stuff done on the overworld, and no sign that any of it's going to change. Yeah, I don't like it at all. I don't understand how this got the reviews that it did, because it's just not Halo. It feels like every other open world shooter ever created, except it's Halo, so it hurts more because of the things that Halo can do that this game seemingly just completely ignores. Whether it be not taking advantage of the magical balance of the Halo sandbox, whether it be things like making the enemies tankier and giving you these gadgets that don't make the game feel like how a Halo game should as a result, whether it be the story being full of the usual Forerunner BS, whether it be the weapon not being a particularly interesting or even, like, just not a fun character to listen to. The open world being so derivative of other open world shooters while not putting its own spin on things. The missions being incredibly linear when they're not, like, just using an open world area as a justification for a story mission. Having them be so linear, boring, and again, just absolutely failing at the chance to improve on the Halo sandbox. It really just comes off as some board member up at Microsoft saying, what do the kids like these days? Open world shooters. Make Halo that. Which is really weird because they've been working on this game for 5 years. It's been in development hell, and you're telling me this is the best they came up with in the time they had available to them? What a waste. What an absolute waste of people's time, money, and manpower.
I guess we need to deal with that mining laser.
God, I have so much more footage of this, but my video editor is actually playing up at this point, to the point where it's being like, I can't even move stuff on the timeline of this project in particular. Not even, like, other projects in the same video editor, just the video editor. So it's becoming a bit of a pain in the neck to try and edit this down. I'll try so that it's not like an hour long, but if the video's an hour long, you'll understand why. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.
Looks like the laser controls are by... Just give me a sec. Something's wrong. I can't shut it down.
Then we destroy it.
Way ahead of you. There are 2 power regulators down there. All we need to do is manually expose each regulator's cooling pylon to trigger a cascade effect. And by we, I mean you. And by trigger, I mean shoot or blow up. You get the idea. That switch should open up the regulator. And there are the pylons. Take them out. do it.
One down, one to go.
He wants to run. Now let's head back up and deal with the laser.
Spartan's not so tough, I think. Break open easy. Soft inside.
Chief?
I see him.
I bury you here, Spartan. Like little twigs. Pathetic. Check lock was nothing. Now you face darkness. No more games. Is this all you could do?
Didn't think we were gonna make it back there. Let's deal with the laser. You've done your part, now for mine. Watch this.
Is there a problem?
Of course not. Let's see what's down there. That laser was modified very recently to cut into the ring.
Modified? By who?
Definitely not by Bassus back there. The formula is very sophisticated. Whoever made the change, they didn't just modify the Forerunner architecture, they improved it. Oh, and there are a lot of Banished in the conservatory. They've been down there for days. We are walking into another trap.
And you left that till last?
Are you scared?
No. You?
Of course not. I've got you to keep me alive.